Hello. I want to talk about a few different things. I want to talk about how to get a productive start on the new skating season. I also want to talk about how to set yourself up for a good year of training even when you're not competing. I have many years of both sides of the equation. In artistic roller skating, the season goes from September 1st to August 31st. So we're coming up on the beginning of the new season. Now that does change if you're going to the World Championships and things like that. We'll get into that in a second. Let's start with if you are competing, and then we will get into if you're not competing. Like I said, if you're going to the World Championships, then your season is a little different, and that is challenging in its own ways because it kind of feels like everyone who didn't qualify for the World Championships got a head start on the next year because there's at least a month to, when I was competing, it was September, October. Our World Championships, I believe, were at the end of October. We were in Australia for Halloween. I do remember that my first year. That's its own challenge where you're still doing last year's routines while everyone is getting started on new routines. However, you're at the World Championships, so you really can't complain because that's very, very cool in its own way. But if that's the case, know that you're not behind. Like, you can't tell yourself that. I told myself that for a few years and it was not helpful at all. Really, you were doing research on what you need to do for the following year and the following years. So let's talk about if you are a normal competitor and not going to the World Championships every year. This is the time where you need to do some research. What you have done, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what has helped you, what hasn't helped you. Really diving into what you want to do for the next year and what your goals are. Now, your goals can be as unrealistic or as realistic as you want them to be. I always had a hard time allowing myself to believe that the things I wanted to achieve were possible until much later in the year. It's very helpful if you start to believe that these things will happen very early on in the year. That's a bit, it's easier said than done. Trust me, I know. But if you can kind of blindly accept the things that you want to happen and start imagining them. I'm very, very big on, I guess, manifesting, but visualizing, seeing what you want to happen before it's actually happened. And ideally that will push you in the right direction to actually make those things happen. So if your goal is to win the World Championships, if your goal is to win the national championships, you have to start believing that and you have to start visualizing that, because if you don't, your subconscious is already making you fail before it's even happened. If you can't picture that, if you can't believe that, no, I'm not saying your goal necessarily should be to win the World Championships, to win the national championships. Maybe your goal is top 10. Maybe your goal is making it to regionals. Maybe your goal is making it to nationals. Your goal can be anything you want it to be. It doesn't need to be to win at the top level. My goal when I was competing was very simple. It was to do better than I did the previous year. So I started from the bottom. My mom and I would count after every competition. This is a true story. She will tell you the exact same thing. We would count how many people I beat. That was where we started. So I started at the very bottom. Now, this didn't always work out for me. Sometimes I would beat one more person than I beat the last competition. Sometimes I would restart at the bottom. That's okay. It happens. So when I say this to people, it's semi-shocking because I have won so many national championships. I've won so many world championships, but it was not always that way. And it was not that way for a lot of years. I got very, very comfortable losing. I got very comfortable at the bottom and I would work my way up. I would work my way up. I would work my way up. And trust me, that is fun. That trajectory is extremely fun, extremely rewarding. Then when you get to the top, it's a little more nerve-wracking. I didn't run into any of my like pre-competition nerves. I didn't run into any of that until I had won the world championships. Until after that first win, that's when all of that started. And I can talk more about that in the future if you would like to. Let me know if you would like me to dive more into that on here. There's a lot to say about that too. Picture yourself where you want to be. So wherever that is, nobody can make that decision for you. And trust me, you don't have to tell anyone. It does help to start voicing it, to put it out into the world. It does help. But as someone who was very afraid to announce that to the world, my goals and what I wanted to do, you don't have to tell anyone. Ideally, you have a coach or a parent that you can talk to and tell them, and they will support you and try to line things up with you, especially if you are a child. Honestly, no matter what age you are, sometimes you need help like guiding yourself in that direction. It's very difficult to do on your own. So I'm here if you need to talk to someone, if you want to talk to someone, or if you want to bounce some ideas off of, let me know. But I was someone who kept it to myself quite a bit. I had coaches and parents who I could talk to, but I chose not to. So that does kind of slow things down a little bit, but figure out a schedule. Figure out maybe month to month what your goals are going to be, how often you're aiming to practice. Sometimes that doesn't work out, and that is okay. It's not like if you miss one practice or honestly like a week of practices that you're completely screwed. You're not. Sometimes taking a week off is very helpful. Sometimes you come back and you realize, oh, I can actually do this thing now because maybe I was overthinking it before. So it's not the end of the world if you miss time or if you go off of your schedule. It's okay. But it's very nice to have a sort of outline. So what my coaches used to do was a practice sheet, and it was like every time I was at the rink, I had to practice these things. I do it in my membership every month. I give certain things that I want you to practice. That's to create that sort of guideline for you, because I know that whether you're competing or not competing, it's very difficult to put your skates on and have a plan. Sometimes you just wing it, and that's okay too, but I like to give that structure at least. If you want to use it, use it. If you don't want to use it, that's okay, but it's there for you regardless. So create your goal, number one, and then create your structure. So this can change as you go. Maybe it's 3 months, you're going to try this. The next 3 months, you're going to revise that schedule to see what worked, what didn't work. It's all trial and error. Like figure out what works for you, and that takes time. So you're at the beginning of the season. You're before the beginning of the season if you're seeing this as I post it. So sit down, take a few hours and just write down what you're thinking. Write down what you want. Write down your experience last season. Maybe if you're brand new, just write what you're hopeful for, and start with that. It's very, very helpful. Now, that is if you are competing or not, to be honest. For me, when I was done competing, I would say that was like the worst year of my life. Happy in so many ways because I had so much time. I was like, oh my gosh, is this what real life is like? Like I'm not at the rink 24/7. It felt very weird, but it was wonderful in that aspect. Terrible because I didn't have anything to do. Like I didn't have, it sounds really bad saying like a purpose, but it was like I started the week and I was like, what am I going to do this week? I didn't have structured workouts. I didn't have practice to go to. I didn't have that sense of community anymore of like, oh, I'm going to see these people no matter what this week. It was a very strange feeling, and I did not handle it great. I also gained a lot of weight simply because I wasn't training like I was used to, and I was eating the same things that I was used to eating. So that it was very unhealthy in that aspect, and I had to do a lot of work to figure that out. So let me help you figure that out without going through that. That structure of training, now you have to switch it to not what are your goals for this year in competition, but what are your goals this year for your life. So like for me, I every few months set goals of like, okay, I want to work on my turns. I want to get my turns better, or I want to get comfortable doing this thing at speed. So I want to spend some time at the park. I want to spend some time at the rink with actual speed and practicing the thing. There's so much to learn. Like whether you're competing or not, no matter what type of skater you are, there's so much to learn. That's why like in the membership, there's hundreds of videos. There's so many different skills to learn and pieces of choreography and drills to work with, because it's never ending, honestly. Like people ask me all the time, are you going to run out of things to teach people in private lessons or in the online memberships and courses? And I'm like, no, like I'm 33 years old. I have been skating my entire life and I'm still learning new things. I'm still learning how to make things a little bit easier by changing the pressure I'm putting in my skate and things like that. So there's always a lot to learn, and be wild with your expectations. Honestly, like just go wild with them. Sit down and write what you want to do. Maybe you want to learn an entire routine and film it. You don't have to share it to the world. You can if you want, but that's fun. Like I have to have a goal for myself, or else I will just put my skates on and then sit because I don't know what I want to do. So like I said, in the membership on the site, thatnicolefiore.com, there is a practice schedule every month. I have that every month, whether you use it or not. Like I said, it's there for you. So if you put your skates on and you don't know what to do, go there. But take some time every month, check in with yourself. Beginning of the month, end of the month, doesn't matter, but check in with yourself and look at what your original goals were and maybe just realign yourself with that if you've gone off track, or if you're right on track, get a little wilder with what you want to do and start adding some new goals to work on. So be kind to yourself throughout this entire process. Like I said, I am here for you. If you want to discuss any of it, I will happily listen and give my feedback. Also, I have to remind everyone, like, tell me when you're sending me your progress, because I encourage everyone to send their progress every month. I make a community progress video for all of us, and it's very fun. But tell me if you want feedback, if you want me to help with like what you're working on to improve it, or if you need like just a cheerleader, because I know that some days I want to hear the feedback and some days I just want a good job. So let me know, but I am always here for you, whatever way it is. And take time to figure out what you want to do this year, and let's make it happen together. All right. I'll see you later. Bye. Hey, Kevin.